Welcome to the deep dive. You read these books, they're full of amazing ideas, right?
Uh-huh.
But actually doing them, that's another story.
Absolutely. It's the gap between knowing and doing.
Exactly. So today, we're doing something a bit different. We're taking Atomic Habits by James Clear, fantastic book, loads of advice.
Hmm.
And instead of just listing things, we want to really dig into how these ideas actually play out, like in real life.
Yeah, because we've all had that experience, haven't we? Setting these huge goals, feeling super motivated for like a week.
And then it just fizzles.
It fizzles. And what's great about Claire's whole thing is it sort of flips that. It says, hey, maybe it's not about these big heroic efforts.
Right.
Maybe it's about the small stuff, the tiny systems you build, almost invisible sometimes.
Okay, so let's make that real. We're going to follow someone, let's call her Lila.
Okay.
She's a full-time nurse. Long shifts, demanding work, giving everything to her patients.
Super draining, I imagine.
Totally. And by the end of the day, she's just wiped out. But she has this dream, right? Since college, she's wanted to write a novel.
Ah, the novel dream. Many have it.
But finding the time, the energy, just thinking about writing a whole book feels impossible for her.
Yeah, like climbing Mount Everest after a 12-hour shift.
Exactly. And I think a lot of us feel that, that gap between wanting something and feeling like you just don't have the motivation to even start.
Motivation. That's the word everyone focuses on. If only I were more motivated.
Right.
But Clearus argues pretty convincingly, I think, that we kind of put too much weight on motivation.
How so?
Well, he has that great quote. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Ooh, I like that. So it's less about willpower.
And much more about your routines, your daily processes, the things you do almost without thinking. Those are more reliable than waiting for inspiration to strike.
Okay, so back to Lila. Thinking, write a novel. Huge, scary.
Overwhelmed.
Especially when she's exhausted. Waiting for that magical burst of energy. It's just not going to happen regularly.
Yep. Unrealistic.
So the shift, according to Atomic Habits, and kind of what Layla starts to figure out, is to stop staring at the mountain peak and instead focus on building a simple path, a system for just writing something, anything.
Precisely. It's changing the focus from the outcome, the finished book, to the process, the act of writing.
And that leads to the 1% thing, doesn't it?
Yes, the power of tiny gains. It sounds like nothing 1% better each day.
Almost pointless, you might think.
Right. But Clear does the math. If you improve by just 1% daily over a year, you end up 37 times better.
37 times. Wow, okay, that's significant.
It really is. It shows how small, consistent efforts compound.
So how did Lila apply this? Did she suddenly block out hours?
No, nothing like that. She started incredibly small, like almost ridiculously small, during her 15-minute break at work.
Okay.
Her goal was just to write one sentence.
One sentence.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. It sounds like it wouldn't achieve anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, how do you write a novel one sentence at a time during a coffee break?
But think about it. That one sentence could be anything. An idea for dialogue, a character's name, a description that pops into her head. It's just about planting a tiny seed.
Okay, I see. It lowers the barrier, like, completely.
Exactly. There's almost no resistance to writing one sentence. It feels doable, even when you're tired.
And those sentences, I guess they start to add up.
They do, almost without her realizing it. She's creating material. It's the consistency that builds momentum, not the size of each effort.
And this connects to another big idea from the book, right? The identity thing.
Oh, yeah, that's crucial. Clear says don't just focus on what you want to achieve, like finish a novel. Focus on who you want to become.
Become. How does that work?
So for Lila, it's shifting from I want to be a writer to telling yourself I am a writer.
Ah, okay. So it's an internal shift.
A really powerful one. Because when she starts seeing herself as a writer, even writing that one tiny sentence reinforces that identity.
It proves it to herself in a small way.
Exactly. And then, say she misses a day because life happens, right?
Sure.
Instead of thinking, see, I failed, I'm not cut out for this, she's more likely to think, okay, I missed today, but writer is right. I'll get back to it tomorrow. It fuels consistency.
So the small actions build the identity, and the identity makes it easier to keep doing the small actions. That's neat.
It's a positive feedback loop.
Okay, so she's got this tiny action. She's thinking like a writer. But how does it become automatic, like a real habit? That's the habit loop, isn't it?
Yes, the famous loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Understanding this is like having the instruction manual for your brain.
Okay, break it down for Lila's writing habit.
All right. So the cue, the trigger is her break starting, maybe grabbing your coffee. That's the signal.
Got it. What's the craving?
The craving could be a desire for just a moment of calm in a crazy day, or maybe control, or just that little flicker of creativity.
Oh, mental escape.
Yeah. Then the response is the habit itself. Pulling out her phone or a notebook and writing that one sentence.
And the reward?
The reward is that feeling afterwards. Maybe pride, a sense of, I did it, a tiny bit of progress, that creative spark feeling good.
And that reward tells your brain, hey, that whole sequence, let's do it again.
Exactly. It wires the habit in. Coffee break starts to equal a little hit of satisfaction from writing.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, the book lays out 4 laws for building habits. Did Layla kind of accidentally use these?
It's funny how often simple, effective strategies line up with these laws. So law 1, make it obvious.
Make the cue unmissable.
Right. Layla started keeping a small notebook, a nice pen right in her work bag where she'd see it. Maybe set an alarm on her phone for break time, just making the prompt visible.
Simple enough. Law 2.
Make it attractive. You need to want to do the habit.
How do you make writing one sentence attractive when you're tired?
She linked it with something she already enjoyed. Maybe getting her favorite fancy tea at the same time as her coffee, making it a little ritual, a small treat for herself.
Ah, pairing it with a pleasure. Nice. Okay, law 3.
Make it easy. And this is where one sentence is genius.
Yeah, doesn't get much easier.
It's basically the 2-minute rule from the book. Start a new habit with something that takes less than 2 minutes. One sentence. Perfect. Zero friction. Takes away the overwhelm.
Just get started.
Just start. And law 4. Make it satisfying. The reward needs to feel good immediately if possible.
How did she do that? Beyond just the internal feeling.
She started tracking it. Just a simple calendar on her phone or a notebook, putting a check mark or a smiley face for every day she wrote her sentence. Seeing that streak grow.
Oh, yeah, streak tracking. That's powerful.
Really satisfying. Gives you that little dopamine hit of accomplishment. It's not about word count yet, just showing up.
So, obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. And by hitting those points, even unintentionally, she built this habit despite her crazy schedule.
Exactly, and it underlines that system's point again. Her motivation would go up and down wildly day to day.
Yeah, sure, depending on the shift.
But the system, coffee break, grab tea, write one sentence, feel good, that was consistent. It ran even when motivation was low. That's the key.
It's really practical stuff, like setting the bar super low to start, linking the new habit to something you already do, like her coffee break. That's habit stacking, right?
Yep. After my current habit, I will do my new habit.
Making it pleasant, tracking the wins. They seem like things anyone could try.
Totally. And the book also talks about the inverse for breaking bad habits, which Layla also kind of did. Like, she wanted to spend less time scrolling Instagram during breaks.
Ah, okay. So how did she apply the laws in reverse?
Well, make it invisible. She moved the app off her home screen. Make it unattractive. Maybe she thought about how scrolling made her feel anxious later. Make it difficult. Logged out each time. Make it unsatisfying. Maybe told a friend to ask her about it, adding friction to the bad habit.
Interesting. Okay, so she's doing this consistently, but you don't write a novel overnight, even with a good system.
No, definitely not. And that's where the plateau of latent potential comes in.
The what now?
The plateau of latent potential. It basically means results often lag behind effort. For a while, Layla just had fragments. Sentences here, ideas there. It might not have looked like much progress.
Yeah, I can see how that would be discouraging. You're doing the work, but not seeing the big payoff.
Exactly. It feels like you're stuck on a plateau. But Claire says that's normal. Your efforts are accumulating, like building pressure underground. You have to trust the process.
Like a snowball rolling downhill, starts small but gains mass.
Perfect analogy. And eventually you hit a tipping point and the results become visible.
So did Layla hit that point?
She did. After about, say, 6 months of this one sentence a day routine, which probably often became a few sentences or a paragraph when she got started.
Right. The easy start makes it easier to continue sometimes.
Precisely. So after 6 months, she looked back and realized she had something like 70 pages of raw material. Notes, scenes, dialogue.
Wow, 70 pages from tiny break time efforts.
Yeah. Not a polished draft, obviously, but a real tangible foundation, built entirely in those small pockets of time without needing perfect conditions or huge blocks of energy.
That's incredible. It really shows the power of just starting small and sticking with it.
It really does.
So if we were to kind of summarize the core lessons here using Layla's journey.
Okay, well, first, Focus on your systems, not just your goals. Goals are destinations. Systems are the roads you travel daily.
Right. Rely on the system, not motivation.
Second, embrace tiny habits. That 1% improvement, small is sustainable, and it compounds like crazy.
Don't underestimate the small stuff.
Third, identity drives behavior. Focus on becoming the person who does the habit naturally. I am a writer.
Let the identity pull you forward.
Fourth, use the 4 laws. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. Engineer your habits for success and reverse them for bad habits.
Design your environment and routines.
And finally, be patient. Trust the plateau of latent potential. Consistency will pay off, even if you don't see it immediately.
That's a great summary. Layla's story really brings it home. Even when you feel swamped, limited time, drained energy, significant change is possible.
Absolutely. It's not about massive overhauls most of the time. It's about those small, smart, consistent choices.
Those tiny habits, done day after day, they really are atomic, aren't they? Small particles that build something huge. So maybe the question for everyone listening is, what's one tiny system you could build? What's one ridiculously small first step you could take today towards becoming who you want to be? Thinking about that. That might be the real start.